The bright lights of Proxima Station never went out. Deep in the secure wing, a creature sat alone in a cell. Its name was Krell, and it was not human. Its gray skin had scales that caught the light. Its eyes, large and black, stared at the wall. Krell was a Draxian, a species known for keeping secrets better than any other in the galaxy. The coalition of stellar species had been trying to make Krell talk for 3 days. They needed to know about an attack that would happen soon. But Krell said nothing. Outside the cell, Captain Tahoe Kim walked down the hallway. His black uniform was clean and pressed. At 35 years old, he was young for his rank in the human coalition forces. His dark hair was cut short, and his eyes showed he had not slept much. "Captain Kim," a voice called from behind him. Tahoe turned to see Admiral Jizung Park. The admiral was older, with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes. "Sir," Tahoe said, standing straight. "Walk with me," Jisung said. They moved down the hall together. "You know why you're here?" "Not exactly, sir. My orders just said to come to Proxima Station right away." Jisung nodded. 3 days ago, we caught Krell. He knows about an attack on our civilian colonies. Thousands of lives are at risk. And he won't talk, Tahoe guessed. Worse, he can't be made to talk. The Altarians tried to read his mind and failed. The Vespians tried their methods too. Nothing works. They stopped at a window that looked into a room. Inside, a blue-skinned Altarian sat with its hands on its head, looking tired. "That's the 5th telepath to try," Jisung said. "They all say the same thing. Krell's mind is like a wall they can't climb." "So why am I here?" Tahoe asked. "I'm not trained in interrogation." Jisung turned to face him. "The council has asked for a human approach." Tahoe blinked in surprise. Humans were the newest species in the coalition. They were strong fighters, but were thought to be too emotional and unpredictable for delicate work like interrogations. "Me? Why?" "Your grandmother was one of our first diplomats to meet aliens. You have her way of thinking." Jisung handed Tahoe a small tablet. "This has all the failed interrogations. Watch them. Learn from them." Tahoe took the tablet. "Sir, with respect, I'm a soldier, not a—" "This isn't a request, Captain." Jisung cut him off. "The attack could happen in less than a week. We need what Krell knows." Tahoe nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." Later, in his temporary quarters, Tahoe watched the recordings. Every video showed the same thing. Krell sitting still, saying nothing. Threats didn't work. Offers of freedom didn't work. Even drugs didn't work. In the last video, an Altarian telepath tried to force her way into Krell's mind. After 10 minutes, she fell to the floor, blood running from her nose. "His mind is like a fortress," she gasped before the video ended. Tahoe put down the tablet and looked out his window at the stars. He thought about his grandmother. She had once told him that understanding came before agreement. That to know someone's mind, you first had to show them yours. He picked up his personal bag and dug through it until he found what he was looking for, a small wooden box. Inside was an old chess set that had belonged to his grandfather. An idea began to form in his mind. The aliens had tried forcing Krell to talk. Maybe it was time to try something no one would expect. Tahoe pressed a button on his comm. "This is Captain Kim. Tell Admiral Park I'm ready to see the prisoner." The door to the main security room opened with a soft hiss. Tahoe stepped inside, the wooden chess box tucked under his arm. 6 aliens turned to look at him. "So this is the human solution." The tallest alien in the room spoke. He was a Vespian named Sorith. His body was thin and tall, with a hard shell that shone green under the lights. His face had 2 large eyes and moving parts near his mouth that clicked when he spoke. "Captain Tahoe Kim," Tahoe said with a small bow. "Human Coalition Forces." A woman stepped forward. She was the only other human in the room. "Hyane Lee," she said. "I work in psychological warfare. These others are the station's top interrogators." Tahoe nodded to each of them. The blue Altarian telepath looked tired. The others, two more Vespians, a red-skinned Mortian, and a floating gas creature called a Thule, all watched him with doubt in their eyes. "I want to see the prisoner," Tahoe said. Sorath waved a long arm at a large window. Through it, Tahoe could see Krell sitting in a plain room at a metal table. "We have tried everything," Sorath said. 17 different methods. Pain, pleasure, drugs, mind reading, lies, truth. Nothing works. Tahoe studied the Draxian. Krell's scales caught the light as he breathed slowly. "Has anyone just tried talking to him?" Tahoe asked. The room went quiet. Then the Morvian laughed, a harsh sound. "Talk? We have talked until our voices grew weak." He says nothing back. Tahoe placed his wooden box on a table. "I want to go in there. Alone. No cameras. No listening devices." The room exploded with noise. The aliens all spoke at once, saying this was against the rules. It was foolish. It would never work. Hyune pulled Tahoe to the side. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "That breaks every rule we have." "Exactly," Tahoe said. "He expects the rules. He's ready for them. I need to do something he's not ready for." "And what's that?" she asked, pointing at his box. "A game. Something from Earth." Hyune shook her head. "They'll never allow it." "Then get me Admiral Park," Tahoe said. "This is why he brought me here." 2 hours later, after many angry calls and a direct order from Admiral Park, Tahoe stood outside the door to Krell's room. The wooden box was in his hands. "You have 12 hours, Sorath said. "After that, we come in, no matter what." "I understand," Tahoe said. "We will be watching," the Vespian added. "No, you won't," Tahoe said. "No cameras. No sound." Those were the Admiral's orders. Sorath's mouth parts clicked in anger, but he stepped back. 12 hours, not 1 minute more. The door opened. Tahoe walked in. Krell didn't look up. When the door closed, Tahoe reached up and found the small camera in the corner of the room. He covered it with a piece of cloth from his pocket. He did the same to the other 3 cameras, and then he disabled the listening devices he had been told about. In the security room, the screens went dark. The audio feed went silent. "What is he doing?" Sorath demanded. "Following orders," Hyune said, but her face showed worry. Back in the room, Tahoe sat down across from Krell. The Draxian looked at him with large black eyes that showed nothing. "My name is Tahoe Kim," he said as he placed the wooden box on the table. "I'm not here to hurt you or force you to talk." Krell said nothing. Tahoe opened the box. Inside were wooden pieces, some tall, some short, some with rounded tops. He began to set them up on a board with black and white squares. "I'm here to play a game," Tahoe said, placing the last piece. "It's called chess. Would you like to learn how to play?" For the first time, Krell's eyes showed something new. Surprise. "This piece is the king," Tahoe said, holding up a tall wooden piece with a cross on top. "The goal of the game is to trap the other player's king." Krell watched as Tahoe placed the piece on the board. The Draxian had not spoken for 3 hours, but his eyes followed every move. "Each piece moves in a different way," Tahoe continued. He showed how the rook moved in straight lines, how the knight jumped in an L shape, how pawns could only go forward. When he finished explaining, Tahoe turned the board so the white pieces faced Krell. "White moves first," he said. For a long moment, Krell did nothing. Then, slowly, he reached out and moved a pawn forward 2 spaces. Tahoe smiled and moved his own pawn. They played in silence. Krell learned quickly. He took 3 of Tahoe's pieces before Tahoe saw a way to trap Krell's king. "Checkmate," Tahoe said. "That means I win." Krell stared at the board. "Again," he said, speaking for the first time. His voice was low and rough. Tahoe set up the pieces once more. This time, the game lasted longer. As they played, Tahoe began to talk. "I grew up near the ocean on Earth," he said as he moved a knight. "My grandmother taught me to play chess. She said it helps you understand how other people think." Krell took Tahoe's knight with a bishop. "Your superiors sent you to play games with me." "No," Tahoe said. "They sent me to get information. I decided games were a better way." The second game ended with Krell's win. His mouth, a thin line on his gray face, curved up slightly. By the fifth game, they were talking more openly. Not about the attack or about secrets, but about the game, about Earth, about what it meant to be human. "Humans are strange," Krell said as he studied the board. "You fight wars but value peace. You compete but also work together. You are weak alone but strong together." "We're full of opposites," Tahoe agreed. "That's what makes us interesting." Outside the room, time passed slowly. The security team grew more and more nervous as they stared at blank screens. "It's been 8 hours," Soreth said. "The human has failed." Hyuna looked at the door to the interrogation room. "We don't know that. We can't see what's happening." "Exactly." Soreth clicked his mouthparts angrily. "He could be in danger. The prisoner could have attacked him. Or they could be talking," Hyuna said. Inside the room, Tahoe and Krell were on their seventh game. Tahoe had told stories about Earth's history, about humans' journey to the stars, about his own family. "My grandmother lived through a terrible war on Earth," Tahoe said, moving his queen. "After it ended, she worked for peace. She said understanding your enemy is the first step to ending conflict." Krell was quiet for a moment. "Is that why you are here? To understand me?" "Yes," Tahoe said simply. "You have not asked about the attack," Krell pointed out. "I'm more interested in why you won't talk about it," Tahoe said. He moved his rook. "Check." Krell moved his king away from danger. "Information is power," he said. "Sometimes sharing information is more powerful than keeping it secret," Tahoe replied. Krell looked up from the board, his black eyes meeting Tahoe's. "You are not like the others who tried to make me talk." "No," Tahoe agreed. "I'm human. We do things differently." For the first time, Krell smiled fully. "Perhaps that is why they sent you. Your move, human." 11 hours had passed. Outside the room, the security team was ready to break in. Soreth paced back and forth, his long legs covering the floor in quick steps. "One more hour," Hyuna reminded him. The Admiral gave him 12 hours. "It is a waste of time," Soreth said. "No one can make a Draxian talk when it does not want to." Inside the room, Tahoe and Krell had played 9 games of chess. They were now sitting quietly, the board between them forgotten. "Why are you protecting this information, Krell?" Tahoe finally asked. Krell's black eyes studied Tahoe. "Because some secrets are worth keeping, even if people die because of them." "That is why I keep the secret," Krell said. "To save lives." Tahoe frowned. "I don't understand." Krell was quiet for a long time. Then he leaned forward. "What if the attack is not what your people think it is?" "Tell me," Tahoe said. "The hegemony ships are not preparing for an attack," Krell said slowly. "They are preparing for an escape." Tahoe's eyes widened. The hegemony was the enemy of the coalition, a group of species that kept to themselves and did not trust outsiders. "An escape from what?" Tahoe asked. "A star is dying," Krell explained. "It will soon explode. The hegemony worlds near it must be emptied. Millions must be moved to safety." "Why keep this a secret?" Tahoe asked. "We could help." "The hegemony would rather be seen as strong enemies than as weak friends who need help," Krell said. "They would rather risk being called attackers than admit they are running away." Tahoe thought about this. "But if the coalition thinks they're attacking, we might try to stop them. People on both sides could die." "Yes," Krell said. "That is why I was traveling with the information." To find a way to tell your people without shaming the hegemony. Tahoe stood up. We need to tell the Admiral right away. When the door finally opened, Sorath and the security team were ready to rush in. But Tahoe walked out calmly, with Krell beside him. The prisoner is free to go, Tahoe said. What? Sorath's mouth parts clicked wildly. You cannot release a prisoner. I'm not, Tahoe said. He's now a guest of the Coalition, and he has important information for Admiral Park. Later, after Krell had told his story to the Admiral, Tahoe found Hyune in the station's dining area. How did you do it? She asked. How did you make him talk when all our best methods failed? I didn't make him talk, Tahoe said. I gave him a reason to want to talk. By playing a game. By treating him as a person, not a prisoner. By showing him that humans can listen, not just ask. Admiral Park joined them, his face serious but his eyes bright. The Coalition Council has confirmed Krell's information. The star is indeed dying. We've opened talks with the hegemony about safe passage for their ships. Will they accept our help? Tahoe asked. Yes, the Admiral said with a smile. Once they knew we understood their problem, they were willing to talk. We're sending ships to help with the evacuation. And Krell? Hannah asked. Free to go, as Captain Kim promised, the Admiral said. But he has asked to stay and help with the talks between our peoples. Tahoe nodded, thinking of his grandmother's words about understanding coming before agreement. The Council has also made a decision, the Admiral added. They want more humans involved in our diplomatic efforts. It seems your way of thinking has value we didn't fully appreciate before. Tahoe smiled. Sometimes, the greatest human strength wasn't force or technology, but simply the ability to sit down, play a game, and listen.